Boeing CEO could face new calls to step down when he testifies before House lawmakers today after a bruising Senate hearing about that 737 MAX jet. Despite his apologetic tone yesterday, Dennis Muilenburg said he is not resigning. For the first time, though, he acknowledged that he did know that a pilot expressed concerns about the 737 MAX before a second deadly crash. Kris Van Cleave is on Capitol Hill with more on this story. Kris, it had to be so hard for the families to hear the CEO say those words. And I know there's more to come today. What can we expect?
Well, good morning. It was a hard day for the families yesterday. We expect there will be a lot more questions about that admission from Dennis Muilenburg, about what he knew and when he knew it. Now, this has the potential to be an even more contentious hearing. The House Transportation Committee has been intensely investigating Boeing for months. All 67 members of this committee can ask questions, so it's going to be a long day in the hot seat for Mr. Muilenburg right here. This, as there are now growing calls for changes at the top of Boeing.
You're the CEO. The buck stops with you.
One by one, senators went after Boeing CEO Dennis Muilenburg.
I would walk before I was to get on a 737 MAX. I would walk.
Muilenburg admits mistakes were made in designing the plane and apologized to the families of the 737 MAX victims, some in the audience. But he said he's not quitting.
These two accidents occurred on my watch, and I have a keen sense of responsibility to see that through.
He seemed to acknowledge the MAX should have been grounded after the first crash 1 year ago.
I think about that decision over and over every day. And if we knew everything back then that we know now, we would have made a different decision.
Okay. By law, the FAA delegates much of the authority for an aircraft's approval to Boeing. Senators were frustrated Muilenburg had no suggestions for specific reforms to that approval process.
If I were listening to his testimony today as a member of that board, I would ask for his resignation.
And some members increasingly sound like they want to change the laws to give more oversight to the FAA, not the manufacturer.
You have to properly diagnose this. You have to accept responsibility for what happened, so we actually can make those changes, both within Boeing, also within the FAA.
For the first time, Muilenburg met with victims' families after the hearing.
You have said you wanted to see Dennis Muilenburg and his executive staff in handcuffs. Do you still think he should face charges?
I still think he should face charges. If they would have acted after Lion Air from what they knew, we would not have had, my daughter would be alive.
We expect a number of families to attend this hearing as well. Boeing says it is in the final stages of the work to fix the problems with the 737 MAX, which sets the stage for the FAA to potentially test and approve the plane for flight before the end of the year. Gayle?
All right, Kris Van Cleave reporting. Thank you very much.